This is a story called The Little Monsters at Christmas, Chapter 2. The kids have a huge snowball fight during a white Christmas. It's almost Christmas and the weather is completely horrendous. It's snowing really heavily and the kids are off school because of it. No one has been able to play outside because the snow has settled. So far all it's done is snow, making it extremely slippery and cold. The kids haven't seen each other for days because of the snow. Their parents don't want them walking to each other's houses in case the weather gets worse. They've promised the kids that as soon as it stops snowing they can meet up and play together. Of course they talk all the time on the phone. But they say it's not the same. Thankfully, after 5 full days of non-stop snowing, it finally stopped. This means that the kids can finally wrap up warm and play outside together. As you can imagine, they're all very excited and they can't wait to see each other. As soon as they see each other, they hug each other and they go sledging for a couple of hours. Unfortunately, it started snowing again. However, the kids aren't that bothered because it's 6 p.m. and it's dark. They have to be in by 7 p.m, so they just go home. The following day, the snow is flying again and the kids are unable to play outside again. The next few days it continued to snow, meaning the kids can't go to school, play outside or go to each other's houses. Then finally there's another break in the weather and the kids are finally able to go outside again. They go sledging again for a couple of hours, then they go to Kicker's house for lunch. After lunch they decided to build a huge snowman and igloo, which takes them all afternoon, and then everyone went home. The next day the weather is clear again, so the kids are able to go sledging again. This time they go back to Stumpy's house for lunch and then they build a snowman in his garden. However, later that day, just as it's starting to get dark, the snow starts flying again. Of course they're not bothered and Stumpy's dad just takes them all home. The snow continued for another 2 days and then, much to their relief, it stopped. This meant that the kids weren't able to play outside again. They went sledging again and then they had a snowball fight with a few other kids. That day they went back to Creeper's house for lunch and afterwards they went sledging and they had a snowball fight again. On their way home, Kicker had an idea. I know guys, we could buy some stink bombs and put them inside the snowballs and throw them at people. Everyone thought that this was a really good idea. On their way home they called at the joke shop and bought some stink bombs and then they went straight home. The next day it was raining and the snow was beginning to clear and the kids were gutted because they were looking forward to their snowball fight. It rained for 2 whole days and then it snowed heavily again and settled on the ground, making the kids really happy. It snowed for 2 days and then it stopped and then the kids were able to play outside again. They went sledging again and then they went back to Bumpy's house for lunch. After lunch they took their sledges and went sledging again. This time quite a few of the kids made snowmen and igloos on the field and then they had a snowball fight. The gang decided to put their stink bombs inside their snowballs and when they threw them at people they went off causing a horrible smell. That day the kids used up most of their stink bombs, so on their way home they bought some more. They also bought loads of farting and burp sweets and fart gas. The next day was a Thursday and the schools were still closed because of the snow. The kids decided to go sledging again and they had a snowball fight. Then it started raining quite heavily, so everyone went home. The next day it was still raining, so they just went to Creeper's house to play. Over the weekend it rained most of the time, so the kids just played at each other's houses. On the Monday it was dry and sunny and the snow was melting, meaning the kids were able to go back to school, much to their disappointment. It stayed dry and sunny most of that week and the snow had almost gone. Then after it had been dry and sunny for 5 days it started to snow heavily again and it settled on the ground. At first the schools remained open, but on the Wednesday they had to close again. The kids were all given letters to take home informing their parents of the school's closure. All the kids were over the moon and they couldn't wait for the snow to stop so that they could go sledging again. As luck would have it, when they all got up on the Friday morning, the snow had stopped. That day they went sledging again and they had a snowball fight with some of the kids again. However, they'd forgotten their stink bombs and joke sweets and they were a bit gutted. In the end they were having too much fun sledging and snowball fighting to care about their joke stuff. The next day they were at a loss as to what to do. They wanted to go to the swing and the skate park, but it was too wet, slippery and dangerous. They decided to just play at Kicker's house for a while, because it was snowing again. Kicker's parents decided to take them to the local indoor trampoline place. They stayed there for a couple of hours and they had their lunch there. Then they went to an indoor roller skating arena with soft play and lots of activities for the kids. There was different sized climbing walls for different age groups, lots of trampoline, arts and crafts, and they all had an amazing time. That night they all slept at Kicker's house as the next day was Saturday and they were allowed to stay up until quite late. For once they were as good as gold and they didn't sneak out to play on the swing or at the skate park. The next day when they woke up, it had been snowing again and it had stopped. They decided to go sledging again. Again, whilst out sledging, they had a snowball fight with some of the other kids. After a couple of hours, they all went back to Kicker's house and had some lunch. Afterwards, they went sledging again, even though it was snowing again. This time, they took all of their joke stuff with them. When they got to the field with their sledges, all the other kids were having a snowball fight, so they decided to join in. However, they secretly put stink bombs in their snowballs, and when they threw the snowballs, the stink bombs went off, causing a horrible smell. Then they went round the other kids handing out the fart and burp sweets, which of course caused everyone to fart and burp. Then a load more kids arrived and the snowball fight got bigger and bigger. Eventually the kids ran out of stink bombs, but they didn't care because they were having far too much fun. The next day was Monday and the schools were still closed because of the snow. The kids went sledging again and on their way there they bought some more stink bombs. When they got to the field, they sledged for a bit and then they had a snowball fight with some of the other kids. As the day wore on, more and more kids arrived at the field and joined in the snowball fight. The gang used some of their stink bombs, but they saved the rest for another day. That day they ended up having a massive snowball fight with all the other kids, and everyone had an amazing time. End of chapter 2. Thanks guys, hope you like it. Bye.